From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Monday, August 18th. Here are today's headlines. Mediators involved in talks for a ceasefire in Gaza are making one last push for a pause in fighting. That's an attempt to stop Israel's impending ground assault in Gaza, aimed at reoccupying the Strip. Egyptian and Qatari mediators have revived plans for a 60-day ceasefire and the release of 10 hostages. That's instead of a comprehensive agreement that was on the table in recent weeks.
This is considered a last-minute effort by the mediators to avert Israel's planned ground assault on Gaza City.
The National's Hamza Hendawi reports.
The plan calls for the U.S. to guarantee in writing that indirect negotiations between Hamas and Israel on the withdrawal of troops from Gaza and a long-term ceasefire will commence during the truce and continue until an agreement is reached. The sources also said that the plan provided for the release of 10 hostages, as well as the remains of at least 15 who died in captivity, in exchange for hundreds of Palestinians held in Israeli jails being freed.
An estimated 50 hostages are held by Hamas. 20 of them are believed to be alive.
The latest proposal also includes the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza, where dozens have died of starvation or hunger-related diseases, as well as for Israeli troops to move away from populated areas.
Meanwhile, demonstrators in Israel calling for an end to the war took part in major protests across the country on Sunday. Israel's military was set to provide Gaza City residents with tents and other shelter equipment before forcibly displacing them into the Strip's south. Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara met one of the country's top Christian leaders over the weekend. Greek Orthodox Patriarch Yohanna Yazgi has asked the president to take practical measures to protect the country's Christians. This as minorities in the country are still apprehensive about their future under the new Syrian government. This was also the first meeting between the two figures since a suicide bombing killed 23 people at a church in Damascus in June. The National's Khaled Yacoub Oweis reports.
There was little in official media about the content of the meeting. However, one clergyman briefed on the meeting said that the patriarch told the president that his commitment in front of Western powers to protect the Christians has to be translated into practical measures. These include, for example, readmitting Christians in the security apparatus. The army and the rest of the security forces in the country have been only Sunni since the ouster of Assad. Also, Christians have been complaining of perceived encroachments by HTS loyalists into Christian neighborhoods.
Yazgi has been a vocal critic of al-Shara, a former member of Al-Qaeda. Protecting Syria's several 100,000 Christians is key to continuing normalization with the U.S. That's a process that started when President Donald Trump met Mr. al-Shara in Riyadh in May.
The government continues surrounding the province of Sueda. This, according to a Christian politician, is sending the wrong messages to the Christians and the rest of the minorities. This politician, who did not want to be named, said that Mr. al-Shara appears to be flexible and willing to bend, especially in front of Western pressure. However, the Christians fear that he cannot or will not contain his core constituents, who are perceived to be militants.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is set to travel to Washington today. He'll be meeting U.S. President Donald Trump, days after the American leader's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin failed to produce an agreement for a ceasefire in Ukraine. Trump said after that meeting in Alaska on Friday that there had been, quote, some great progress, unquote, on ending the war in Ukraine, but he didn't offer any details. Here is Trump speaking in a Fox News interview after that meeting.
And it was very extensive, and we agreed on a lot of points. I mean, a lot of points were agreed on. But there's not that much. There's, one or two pretty significant items, but I think they can be reached.
In that same interview, Trump raised the possibility of holding another summit, which would include Zelenskyy, and suggested the next move towards peace would have to come from Kyiv.
Now it's really up to President Zelenskyy to get it done.
Europe, meanwhile, has been focused on showing a united front amid these talks. Several European leaders confirmed on Sunday they'll join Zelenskyy for the meeting in Washington. They include NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and the leaders of France, the UK, Italy, Germany, and Finland. That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow our live coverage at thenationalnews.com. Yasmin Altaji, The National.